Usyk vacates all his belts, but who has really won out of this situation? There are a few big winners here that we want to talk about today. And this is a massive development in boxing and in heavyweight especially. Obviously, Usyk now vacating all his belts. He's going to probably still have a couple fights, but there'll be fights of his choice. And he can, the money's there to see him fight. So look, he can get some massive paydays before he retires. And so he should. But holding up the divisions because he's got the belts wouldn't be right. He's vacated correctly as he should if he doesn't want to defend them. So obviously he was undisputed champion. He didn't fight to defend his belt, and the WBO obviously belt got fought over. I think Fabio Wardley fought Joseph Parker for it, won, and then Dubois now won it off Fabio Wardley. So that belt hasn't become vacant or to a new person, in the heavyweight division like a top contender. But it is true now that obviously you've now got the IBF, the WBA, and the WBC all passing to someone new or being vacant, and that's what we want to get straight into. So let's state the facts of this. Them three belts, obviously, the WBC is now with Cabello, who is now world champion. Obviously, made world champion post the vacation. WBA, Gaziev is now world champion post Usyk vacating, and the IBF is vacant at this current point when I'm making this video. That could change, but I think there'll have to be a fight to make that not vacant, if you get what I mean. I think that they'll look to make a fight to crown a world champion in that sense. WBO is obviously still held by Daniel Dubois. Nothing has changed in that sense, and obviously the ring waiting for the fight, but currently still Usyk, but really he's not going to fight for it anymore, so there will be a chance there for someone to become the Ring Magazine champion. So yeah, let's get straight into it. The ring we'll keep off to last because Usyk is still the champion. It's sort of a deciding factor of going who, you're going to look for a fight to make that new world champion at some point, but it seems as they haven't really vacated it, they've left Usyk as champion, that might be a bit more in the future. But there are some big winners out of this, in the near to very soon, in the next couple of fights future, they may get a world championship fight. And let's get straight into it. WBC, I think, who can challenge this massively. Obviously, Cabello now made world champion post the Usyk vacation. Is Fury or AJ? Could do massively well out of this after Usyk vacating it. Tyson Fury's still number 1. AJ is number 5. They're going to fight. And the fact is, if Fury wins, he's still going to be number 1 contender, which means he's going to get a world title shot. Or if AJ wins, in a sense, he's beat the number 1. So he should get the title shot. So there's massive... And both Fury and AJ bring massive money, and some of the biggest money in the heavyweight division. And so there's no bit where they get stopped because they don't get the eyes, they don't get the financials in there. The financials don't make sense. They do. They definitely want them to fight for the championship. If they got the opportunity and they said yes, they'll be signing on dotted line quicker than anyone could possibly imagine, because they are the two biggest names in the heavyweight division at current, without Usyk there. And that is the key. I think even with Usyk there, does Usyk bring as many numbers? Yes, he's the best, but I don't think he does. I think AJ in the UK brings massive numbers. Fury in the UK brings massive numbers, but both of them as well have crossed over to the United States and are doing incredibly well there. AJ with the Jake Paul fight recently, and then Fury with the Wilder fights back in the day. He's done incredibly well out of those with his US fan base. And AJ getting them that massive US viewership post the Jake Paul fight on Netflix, which would have meant out to massive amount of US fans, and they'll know his name and they'll want to see him fight again. And I think that's the way it goes. I think there's no fight for Cabello yet. I think they wait it out. They say, look, now you're world champion. We got to find a contender that works. Because Cabello's been, in a sense, waiting for ages for the Usyk fight before he vacated. And now, Fury AJ's on the horizon. It's by the end of the year. Caballero, look, sit it out until then. Maybe take an easier fight to keep yourself warm. But wait for the big money, because Caballero will be looking for the big money. He's a boxer. He needs to make that money. He's now world champion. Why would he sell himself short against someone else and make half or less money than that? Of course he wouldn't. So look, the rankings show that's an easy win. It's already sort of centered around that happening, and there's no real massive moves that in rankings or anything that have to happen to make that sort of work after the AJ Fury fight. I think whoever wins goes for a WBC world title shot. Now on to the IBF. Obviously, IBF is vacant. Sanchez looks to be is in the number 1 position with Atoma at number 2 and Hrgović number 3. Look, that's an easy one as well. If you think about what's going to happen in the next few weeks, few months, Atoma's going to face Hrgović. Whoever wins that goes for the IBF title shot against Sanchez. I think that's exactly how it happens. I think Atoma and Hrgović are already facing each other, and so that makes total sense. I think it's too soon to make that a title fight, a world championship fight, Hrgović and Atoma. But I think Sanchez then faces the winner out of them two, and I think that's why it's become vacant. I think 100% that's why it became vacant, because they know, look, that fight's going to happen and then both of you can fight for the title, and it makes that fight bigger. I think that's clear, very clear on the IBF what's going to happen. But whoever wins on the 29th of August will likely get a shot by pretty much the end of the year if there's no major damage, and that's when we'll see the IBF go to Sanchez or whoever, either Hrgović or Atoma. So look, Sanchez has only lost. He's a great fighter, and he only lost against Caballero. But look, Atoma's coming and he's fast, and we'll see him against Hrgović how good he looks. If he looks good against Hrgović and beats him decisively, my guess would be by end of year, early next year, Atoma is a world champion in the IBF. I think that's key. But there's another, in a sense, route for Atoma. Moses Itauma, obviously Gaziev is now WBA world champion, elevated to world championship, with Atoma being the number 1 contender in that division. Miller number 2, Fury number 3, AJ number 4. So very simple again. Fury AJ, that could whoever wins that could face Gaziev, but also with Atoma being the number 1 contender, if he beats Hrgović, he now becomes the main guy to face Gaziev. And I think either way, he's got a chance to either win a WBA or an IBF title, and I think he goes for the one he thinks he can beat best and easiest, and it's hard to say which one it is, but I think he beats both. If I'm honest, I don't think it really matters which way he goes, Gaziev or Sanchez. I think he may go Gaziev, just because he's higher ranked in that. He's, really he's not, but the vacant title, they could go one way or another, whereas currently he's the first, he's the first name, he's number 1 contender, and Gaziev's champion. It's a simple way of going, I now need a world championship fight. But if Atoma wins, 100% he goes straight to calling out who he wants to face next, and it'll be Sanchez or Gaziev in one of them two world championship titles. And obviously, if for some reason, whatever it may be, Atoma goes, look, I'm going to face Sanchez for the IBF, it does open up a situation where you go Fury and AJ are the next up then, because Miller isn't selling as many fights as AJ and Fury, and Gaziev isn't a massive name. Sanchez isn't a massive name to people outside of boxing. This is very key. It's got to bring in the mainstream public, and that'll be key for these governing bodies, for the fighters. Why would Gaziev face Miller when he could face Fury or AJ? That's just the key. It's just so much more money. It's just multiple times on the level of cash and prestige and where you could do it and everything about it. So, look, I think Atoma's got two incredible opportunities to become he's very young, but he's going to become a champion very soon. And it's all down to Usyk vacating. It's created a situation where Atoma's in prime position. And look, has he been put in positions on rankings maybe prematurely? 100%, 100%. And because of his hype, really? Yeah, 100% as well. But I think he wins them. I think this is the key. I think you can say he's been prematurely put up there. His hype is just basically pushed him up there, and his saleability. Of course it has, but look, for him personally, 100% happy for him. He's an incredible fighter who deserves this as he's trying to get them big money fights, the big paydays, the world championships as fast as he can. And he's doing it. And in the modern era, I don't know if a fighter's really done it and been in a position like this where he's pretty much on the cusp, if he beats Hrgovic, on picking which world title he goes for. There's not really been a guy this young who's really been able to do that in the modern era. And I think that's incredible. I think that's partially circumstantial, of course it is, but incredible to put yourself in the position in. The reason he's got so much hype is his performances in the gym, his performances in the ring as well. And that's the key why he's so highly ranked. And for me, it's not hype, it's not anything, but I rank him way up there with some of the top heavyweights of today. And that's key. And I think that's key. I think he brings in the money. When Fury and AJ go, who's the big money fights? These guys are all starting to retire. The big names, the names need to be replenished, and Atoma is one of them big names. And look, if he starts being able to speak a bit better on the mic, and he hasn't really got the Fury style, but look, he just needs a bit more there, and he'll be an absolute winner and have incredible fights with massive paydays sooner than you'll think. And key, I think by end of this year, he's set up a fight, and if not, gonna fight for a world championship within 2026. Depending, it could be made and be early next year, but I don't think it's soon after 2026. I think, look, AJ and Fury are definitely won out of this. It sort of brings them from the point of losing against Usyk multiple times each to then become, actually, I could win a world championship, and them looking at the people who've currently got the world championship go, I fancy it, because they will, and I fancy them against Gaziev or Calbayel. I would say they've got a chance. We can see who looks better in the Fury AJ fight, but if one of them really goes out there, gets the KO or stops it early and goes, look, I'm still here, I'm still a great fighter, it does put pressure on these guys. And look, Atoma is got. That's the key. AJ Fury done well out of this. Atoma is just in the best position out of any heavyweight now. Usyk, vacating should have been a celebration for him. If he looked at the situation he is now in, on the rankings, on what everyone perceives is going to happen, he's in a pole position to get these world championships, and quick. Because even if he goes for the IBF, he's still going to be highly ranked in the other one, in the WBA. Well, that's what I think. That could change, but I think if he goes for one of them, he's still going to be highly ranked in the other one, where he could start gaining 2 belts, and then he starts going at the rest. And I think that's his first chance. I think, look, the IBS vacant, look, there's something there. WBA, there's something there. WBO's with Daniel Dubois, so look, leave that for now. You don't need to. Getting the 2 belts you can go for quite easily. IBF, WBA, and this is what his team should be telling him. Go for them 2. See where you're at, see who is the champion at that point across the WBO and WBC post that. Because I think WBC will be Fury or AJ, one of the two, because whoever wins the Tyson Fury AJ fight will then fight Caballero. And I think if they look good in the Fury AJ fight, I'd give them a chance. They're big guys and they're great fighters. It's just if they look terrible against each other, someone wins, but they both look old, they both look slow, then look, maybe that's just totally out the window. Caballero then faces likely someone else in there, and likely Atoma in time. But I can definitely see Tyson, Fury or AJ having a one last go, winning a world championship and going, that's, look, they're not going to retire on a championship, I don't believe, either of them. But I think they will face Atoma and they'll go, look, the new generation is here. I don't need to prove anything against these guys. I've lost. It's not my generation. This guy is what I was 10, 15, even 20 years ago now. And I see it in him. I saw it in myself back in that day when I was there, hungry, winning my first world championship, defending for the first time. And now I see it in him, and he is that good. And he is 100%. And I think that'll be the retirement fight for whoever wins the Fury AJ fight will retire post an Atoma fight to sort of unify 3 belts in the heavyweight division, if not all of them, who knows. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I think Atoma's won most. What do you think about the Atoma situation and position in the heavyweight division now? And what do you think about Fury and AJ? Are they rubbing their hands together, or do you think it'll go in a different direction post their fight later on this year? Let me know that in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.